Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. So there's a lot to actually cover in this one video. I will try to keep the pacing as it were. A lot of people, and I mean over the last decade or so, but if you really want to squeeze it tight, in the last like 2 or 3 years have been predicting the collapse of financial markets, the collapse of the system, the collapse of the US dollar, depressions, recessions, obsessions, possessions, and all these other things that are kind of floating around out there. The generalized idea is that the United States, China, the world has way too much debt. And therefore, slightly tying into like 2012, 2013, 2014 cryptocurrency news is the idea that because of this economic problem and potential downfall and hardships that we're currently seeing right now, that we may then see a large amount of capital actually move away from the US dollar, from equities, from commodities, and actually move further into the cryptocurrency space. This was one of the main things that kind of got me into crypto years and years ago, was the idea of a brand new economic system, something like Bitcoin or Bitcoin itself, and seeing people divert their money into this new system as a way to kind of escape inflation, as Bitcoin is deflationary. We're also kind of seeing a little bit of this right now, depending on where you look. We have had videos here before, and also other analysts who have announced that they're seeing a slowdown in the amount of people who are buying gold. The amount of people who are buying Bitcoin continues to tick higher and higher every single day. There are constantly new addresses. We had something, was it early October, if you want to look for the news, where I think one day there were over 100,000 new Bitcoin addresses. It is believed that this was a response to the amount of inflation that's currently going on around the world, as it is not really lowering. As many of you are probably aware, we've gone over this before. The idea is that multiple places around the world are actually going through at least 70 to 150% inflation. The part of the problem is that CPI data, and it doesn't really properly reflect how much people are paying extra in rent. There are multiple places over the last 3 years, year on year, their rent has risen by 25 to 40%. I'm not the only one seeing these videos on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, where people are talking about it. And they're like, my rent was $1,200, it's now $1,800. The landlord's trying to raise it to $2,400. It doesn't properly reflect exactly what's going on. So in the midst of all of this, that we are currently living through very historic times, it looks like how do I say this? It was predicted years ago when I got into the cryptocurrency market that the world would see a shift around this time. I've mentioned it on the other channel that I have, The Modern Investor, multiple times because we keep getting this daily news about it. The idea being that the 2024, 2028, and 2032 Bitcoin halvings are meant to be like some of the most significant that we've ever seen. Bitcoin's not inflation rate, if you will, but the issuance rate of Bitcoin is going down from 6.2 to 3.175. I think that's what it is, which is nothing per block. It is absolutely minuscule. And that, as we have seen over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, the amount of people on the planet who are buying Bitcoin in general, the amount of people who are buying it as an investment, the amount of banks and countries and institutions, if you've been watching these videos on this channel, the amount of countries who have openly come out and said, we are going to start mining Bitcoin. It's not even like maybe they will. No, they're like, we're allocating $200 million to a Bitcoin mining farm because we need this extra source of revenue. And we can also assume that they're going to be using Bitcoin at some point as well. The point being is that recently there was an article on Forbes, and why I find this interesting is because Forbes, in essence, is for a particular type of person, if you will. The idea is that Forbes and Bloomberg and Morningstar and all these other companies, they're not for the average person. When you write something on Forbes, it is for people who are wealthy, who have wealth, who have money, who are millionaires, who want to know current market trends, where to put their money, where the other rich people are moving their assets into so that they can also profit as well. So if Forbes was for the everyday kind of person, it wouldn't be, not that it wouldn't be as relevant, but this is more so the capital inflows that we've seen moving into the cryptocurrency space have been quite spectacular, especially over the course of this year. A lot of times we lose track of the fact that Bitcoin has doubled in price since the beginning of this year. There's been a lot of money that's been pushing into the market and also subsequently buying up a lot of the Bitcoin. Forbes' report says and states that because of what many are considering what could be the impending extra collapse of the US dollar. That is to say, it is believed that the US dollar will be with us for time in the future. The idea is that as interest rates steady and or rise and or fall, they all kind of connect to each other in that people believe that the people who print money within the United States of America are going to be forced to kind of turn the money printer back on. The economy is relatively stagnant. You can see this as well in the stock market. The stocks that continue to perform well are tech stocks off of the back of the idea that AI is going to somehow save the entire universe and therefore invest in AI, yada, yada, yada. While the rest of the stocks and the rest of the market continued to not do as well, the idea is that since around 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, the money printer was basically turned on, and that money printer allowed people to kind of prosper in a way economically. But a lot of the money that was made, especially since 2020, was a significant portion of the US dollars that were ever actually printed. This is why we're going through these crazy inflation things right now. Forbes is predicting, as have many other people, that when the money printer gets turned back on, it's going to have to be substantial. It won't be for millions. It won't be for hundreds of millions. It won't be for tens of billions. It might even be in the low trillions to be able to get the economy really going back again so that enough people take out debt, because the economy in the world runs on debt, to be able to create new businesses, to be able to buy cars and to put themselves in debt for the next 30 years. However, this will cause a bit of a collapse in the system. Because the more that we see gets printed, the higher inflation goes. The higher inflation goes, the higher prices goes, the more money that people need, the more money that people need, the more people are left out of this kind of economic sphere. The more people that are left out of this economic sphere and inflation goes higher, the higher prices go. It's a continuous loop over and over, and we cannot really afford to get ourselves into another situation where inflation, CPI data, for the world's largest currency ticks back up to 7, 8, 9, 10% because it means that it's actually a lot worse than those CPI numbers. And it's even worser, not a word, for the billions of other people around the planet. Forbes is predicting that there's going to be a US dollar shock of sorts where people basically go, we can't have our money in here anymore. We have to find another alternative. And they say in the article that it looks like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP might actually be the things that people push their money into and also begin to ignore, nice word, gold. That's why, and I heard once again years ago, the idea was that 2024, 2028, 2032 would be the years, because I think would be the years where crypto would basically rival gold and then kind of completely push it to the side. I believe that the number is that Bitcoin only has to pass by $250,000 per coin, which is what people are expecting over the course of the next bull run. People are expecting anywhere from a $200,000 to a $400,000 Bitcoin that only needs $250,000 to basically usurp and push aside gold as like a safe haven of sorts. And that if this should happen, basically people will realize, in essence, this is the idea, not the reality. This is the idea that basically they should have been buying Bitcoin this entire time. People begin to sell off their other assets, push it into Bitcoin. And this is where we get these miraculous $1 to $10 million Bitcoin price predictions. It's very, very fascinating. There's also another analytics company who says that they believe that there's going to be a $33 trillion debt spiral just from the United States. other countries will react to this. And it looks like the thing that could be the answer is Bitcoin. And when you look at all the news and all the data, and once again, I do tons of videos here, and the other channel is also a daily news channel. The amount of banks and institutions and BlackRocks and Fidelities who have jumped into the space after constantly talking about the news of a dollar collapse and economic slowdown and recession, depression, is a little bit suspicious to me, in that you can clearly see that they're moving their money into crypto, and it looks like the average person has no idea. Thus, the extra significance of this news being only on Forbes and not in a daily local news in some sort of other place. The world is changing rapidly in front of our eyes, and I do and do not look forward to what the next 10 years are going to be like. I think it's going to be incredibly rough for the vast majority of people, but it's also looking like the people, once again, who have the assets are going to be the ones who actually manage, if you will. As always, articles are going to be in the description below. I do hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.